What is up, people, and welcome back to our channel. We are at the end of Jonas' weightlifting journey because he competed and did his first ever weightlifting competition a couple of weeks back, and we are here today to review and to talk about how his first competition went. Today's the day because it's Jonas' weightlifting competition, first ever weightlifting competition. And we are on our way to the weightlifting club. Today is actually nice because it's in our home weightlifting club. So the atmosphere is known already. What's the plan today? Like, what is the first step now?
We're gonna weigh in, see how light I am. Actually, I weighed myself this morning and I'm the lightest since I think 5 or 6 years. So quite light with like 123 kilos. Eat,
What
warm up,
What are you eating?
just protein shake, carbs, some caffeine, a Monster. Yeah, I think you're gonna see on camera how the open is and how the lifts will go.
How did it feel to step on stage for your first ever weightlifting competition?
It was easier than I thought. Actually, going a few weeks back, I was planning to start already a few weeks earlier, but then we both got sick after I went to a competition with Maike. So we had to postpone the competition for like 4 weeks. But when I was heading to the competition, when I was driving to the venue, and then actually when I was also warming up and getting ready for the competition, I was surprisingly 0% nervous. Comparing this experience to my first powerlifting competition, especially before my first squat, I was very, very nervous back then. But as I did 3 or 4 powerlifting competitions in the past, and now going into my first weightlifting competition, I think this already gave me some confidence. And compared to powerlifting, the weights in weightlifting are not that high. So I think the barrier when going into the competition isn't that high.
Were you concerned to be able to keep the technique up running and to do basically the movements correctly, or was it already at the point after, I don't know how many months were it now, 5 months doing weightlifting, that you were already that confident in the movements and you didn't really have to think about how to move in a snatch or in a clean and jerk?
I think the main problem, or you start having these doubts and you start having these really tactical errors when you're starting too heavy. Since this didn't happen for me, since we basically started really, really light with my opener. So I started with 65 kilos in my snatch opener, which I'm also able to do for 3 easy reps. So basically, by having the opener really, really low, I think it's easier to get a first start in the competition. And then our game plan was increasing the weights for the second and third attempt by 5 kilos each.
So talking about weights, what were your weights in the snatch and then also in clean and jerk? And which lifts were good lifts and which ones were no lift?
Yeah, so I went 6 for 6. So in weightlifting, you have the snatch, obviously, and then the clean and jerk, and then for each lift, you have 3 attempts. So I got all of my lifts as a good lift. I started, as I said, with 65 kilos in the snatch, went super, super easy, then went to 70. My previous PR was, I think, 72 kilos in the snatch, and then 70 went also really, really easy. So we increased to 75, which also still went quite good. And I think at this point there was still some kilos left in the tank, maybe like 1 or 2 more kilos on that day. But I was still quite surprised how well I've hit the 75 kilos. And then we basically chose the same approach for the clean and jerk, We started quite easy or quite light at 85 kilos. In training, I also clean and jerk 90 kilos. So I was quite confident I was gonna hit the 85. Then we went up to 90 and then 95 as my last attempt. 90 and 85 was quite easy. For 95, I had some struggles with the jerk. I was not very consistent with my elbow lockout. So if there would have been a really, really strict judge, maybe this would have been a bad lift. But the judge on that day was very kind. So it was in the end a good lift. And I went away with a 6 for 6 day.
Yeah, I think that was a very good competition for you, and you could really feel that you are kind of a competition person, because if you're comparing your lifts in training versus how you lifted in the competition, I think a lot of people were pretty surprised about how your lifts look like. Looking back at all 6 attempts, was there any attempt where you were specifically happy about or where you were super surprised about?
Probably the 75 kilo snatch, because when I tried this in training, it was super, super heavy and I failed like I think 73 or 74 kilos multiple times. Actually, I told this to Mike and to other persons from the weightlifting club a few days ago, that I think a few days prior to the competition, it really clicked how I have to really pull with doing the snatch. I actually started doing power pulls in the snatch, where you basically start from the hanging position and then just pull until your chest height. And I started doing this exercise a few weeks prior to the competition, and I really figured out how I need to pull in the snatch, and I think this really benefited my overall snatch pull and then also contributed to the performance in the competition.
Was there, though, one thing or anything which you would have done differently?
Yes, I think my biggest weakness at this point is the deep squat position. We're obviously still working on this. It's getting better, but I think I could have been a little bit more strict with my stretching routine and just practicing this position a little bit more, because I think the better I get in this position, the better my lifts are going to be. A specific learning also was that I need to focus more on my jerk. I think at this point it's the weakest link in my clean and jerk and in my lift in general. So I need to focus on this a little bit more. I obviously did this prior to the competition, but not as often maybe or as heavy as I should have done it. So that's something that we changed right after the competition. I'm doing this now quite heavy, quite often.
Probably it will be also interesting for you to learn the split jerk, and if the split jerk will work out better for you, but then obviously you need to practice a lot to get comfortable in that position. But talking about the squat depth, I think you also really saw that when you did the first snatch attempt, which you actually attempted in the standing position. And then afterwards, you even squatted down. So I think if you are more comfortable in that, you are probably also better in catching the bar lower. So to round up that video, probably everybody's interested in, would you continue doing weightlifting? Would you now say, well, that was enough, I will not continue at all? So how has the experience of the past month shaped your training goals?
That's funny because I saw a video of Clarence Kennedy a few days ago where he just talked about how weightlifting is not easy, that you should probably do powerlifting instead, since the beginning of the first weeks, a month of weightlifting can be quite frustrating. And I think during that time, I was quite often really, really close to quitting and to doing something else, maybe something easier, because the process of learning the technique, learning new mobility drills, just getting more flexible can be quite taxing and can be really frustrating and not that rewarding in the long run, especially if you're working a demanding job on the side and you basically just use training for decompression or to just chill out. And when there's no option to chill out in training, and training is difficult and can be tricky and not that rewarding at times, I think it's really, really easy to quit and do some other sport instead. But I think a few weeks ago, I basically hit a spot where it kind of clicked and where I understood better what I need to do just in case to get better in weightlifting. I think this basically motivated me to keep on pursuing weightlifting, or at least to keep my training focus at this time towards weightlifting. I just love the bench press. I love to do some bodybuilding work, We changed up my training plan a little bit at this point, so we added the bench press again. We added some assistance work again. You could say it's a hybrid plan, but I'm still having a really heavy weightlifting focus at this point, because I think my squat, my whole body is going to benefit from me doing more weightlifting at this point. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to do this for the rest of my training career. But now at this point, I think at least for the next year, how the training focus is going to be on weightlifting, just getting stronger in general. That's it for this series. Thanks to everyone who stayed with me for this whole time. We started this in May, and now it's almost the end of the year. So it was a fun journey. If you like the whole series, if you like our content in general, just a quick notice here. Of course, our focus is traveling, gym reviews, basically showing you what we are doing on our travels. This has been a nice side series on the channel, but of course there will be more videos coming from Asia, from our travels, and we of course going to show you my and Maike's weightlifting progress along the way. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and have a great day. Peace.